Everyone has something to share, in either wisdom, story, or logic, and it's clearly amazing to hear all the differing missing links discovered by people, unique to their own journeys, and in how they have come to discover them. Together, we can help to build a bigger picture for a better future, for a brighter tomorrow. Let's stand united. Let's remove the veils, and let's create a new world together. Are you that missing link? Join Jesse Hale on the Missing Link Talk Show as he helps to unveil the mystery through the unique wisdom and story of others. Only on Real Revolution Radio.
Welcome everybody here back to the Missing Link. This is our third Missing Link of the day, so we got a little marathon going on, and here we have the honor of having a quantum healer, someone who's taken her own health into her own hands and really helping people along the way. Raylene Short, how are you today?
Hi Jesse, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on with you today.
You're very welcome. Like I said, it's an honor. I don't know a lot about you, but someone told me to, check you out, and you'd be a great guest. So, did a little research, and I'm like, wow, this would be a perfect guest for us here today. So, maybe you can start by telling us, about yourself and, your journey.
Sure. My journey started over 30 years ago when I became extremely ill with Lyme disease and quite a few other illnesses. And my doctors told me that I probably wouldn't live, or I would be very sick for most of my life. And that was pretty much the case for 28 years. I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on surgeries, doctors, medical treatments from all over the country. And I was only getting worse to the point where could maybe function for 1 to 2 hours a day. And I was seeing a great naturopath, and he told me there has to be something else going on with you because you're doing everything right. My diet was perfect. I was taking over 50 different supplements and pills and prescriptions a day and doing everything I possibly could. And he referred me to someone that did energy healing, and it was kind of outside of the box for me, someone who had been versed in Western type medicine. But after my first session, I knew there was something different about that kind of work. And about 16 months into my healing journey, I finally stopped having crashes where I would crash for 2 to 3 weeks and not be able to function. And then I might feel okay for a couple of weeks and then it would crash. And my doctor told me that I should start doing energy healing while I was still ill. And I honestly laughed at him. I said, "You have no idea how sick I am. How could I possibly help heal or work with anyone else?" And what do you know, 6 months after that, I started my journey into getting certified in body and emotion code. And from there, I have developed what I say is just through intuition and contact with the creator or the divine, what I call quantum healing that transcends space, time, all dimensions. And I'm completely set free of over 20 health conditions, late stage Lyme disease, fully functional. I just had a baby this year, and before that I had 3 miscarriages and just, I struggle with infertility, and this was my healthiest pregnancy ever. And so for about 2 years, I've been working with clients and helping them on their healing journey. I have some, they've had some pretty incredible results. And so it's so rewarding to know how much suffering someone can endure and then to be a part of their healing journey. And a lot of the people who come to me are in a very hopeless place where they've tried everything and their doctors say, "We don't have an answer for you." And I love this work because it encompasses and combines the spiritual, emotional, and physical component of healing. Because often we'll find that an ailment doesn't just start when you get the knee pain. It may have started in utero. It may have started preconception or in childhood. And so to watch people's journey is quite amazing. So that's part of my process to where I am now.
So I was listening to an ophthalmologist who was also a naturopath, and he was talking in a seminar in front of a whole bunch of doctors, and he says most people's ailments come from, some kind of a traumatic event that happened to them as a child. It's this stuck energy, and that kind of manifests into these other things. My question is there possible that some of these stuck energies or these traumatic could have happened in previous lives and not actually happened in this life, and it's transferred over into this life, which now you have to deal with this in order to be able to move on with your life?
When I first started this journey, I would have answered that question very differently, but I have since learned that yes, we can have past lives and experiences. I've talked quite a bit about something called a karma trap, where people get tricked into coming back into this cycle to make up for things that may not even have been things that we really did, but that gets attached to us as a negative memory. And so, yes, we can carry trauma from past lifetimes that actually happened, or implanted memories of past lifetimes, or even past experiences within this lifetime in this vessel that we're in. And I found implanted memories and trauma experiences in utero, and also passed down from our ancestors. So once we step into this physical vessel, we take on the imprint of the DNA blueprint of our entire family lineage of this, genetic physical body. And so we can have imprints of traumas from those people as well for many generations. I found things as far back as 300 or so generations. So it's quite phenomenal once you think you understand this little box of information. And then once I get in there intuitively and connect with different clients, it's like, holy cow, pretty much blow the box open and anything's possible, really.
So if someone, has gotten all these doctors' death sentences, or, hopeless, kind of prognoses that they do, and they tend to, kind of put the doom and gloom on people so they can get them onto their pills and stuff, and they do come to you, what does that, kind of look like with, I know everybody's different, but just kind of, maybe a basis on how, you go about getting to know somebody and helping them along their journey?
I will say, before I had my baby, my practice looked much different. Now that I've had her, my time is quite limited. So I do a lot of group healing sessions, and I have over close to 40 different topics that I work on clients, hundreds and hundreds of clients a month from all over the world, if not over thousands of clients a month. And my group healing sessions are really simple because this is quantum healing. It transcends space and time. So people just sign up for whatever the session topic is, whether it's smart technology, nanobots, it could be parasites, it could be heart walls, entities, clearing off demonic and dark energies, or I even work on properties. And when I do the session and then I send out detailed notes of some of the things that I've released, I found that my work tends to, because it extends into the future and the past all at the same time, it's kind of hard to understand for some or grasp. There can be benefits for months in the future. As the body is healing in layers, it essentially will unfold different parts of the session as it's ready to release those imbalances. And I always release only what the body will allow, so I don't push it to the brink of having a severe detox reaction, which is what I found with Lyme disease. I would end up not even able to walk because my detoxing was so serious. And I find that this is much gentler. It just works with what the body allows. And then it may even release things slowly over time for many months. And people have noticed effects for weeks after, where their relationships change, their outlook changes, they may have done a heart wall session, but then their knee pain goes away. And so we just never know what to expect. And some people get immediate results with one session. And I always tell my experience working with some other healers, where it took me over 16 months working on my Lyme disease with another healer to feel about 80% better. So everyone can look different. It's essentially connecting with their body, with what their body allows when it allows it to happen. And we have to work through layers sometimes, because often our illness did not instantly start, in 1 second. It probably started as a weakness that was inherited in a past life or in utero. And we continue to build dark energies and imbalances on top of that throughout our lifetime, to the tipping point when we experience the physical symptom. And most people ignore spiritual and emotional until it gets physical, and then they seek assistance.
So now, are you basically teaching people how to heal themselves? Like you're giving them the tools and the skills? Or is there a lot of, you're sending in energy and helping them along that process as well?
When I do sessions, when I find an imbalance in someone, I immediately release it, or clear imbalances to the point that I am able to release it. I've had a lot of people request that I offer classes, and with my baby, I'm not able to do that right now, but it's definitely something on my list to do. I do a lot of YouTube videos. I try to do at least one a week. And if you pay attention to those, I do give a lot of tips and tricks and things that empower people to start raising their own vibration and take their health and their healing journey into their own hands. And some people just aren't fully comfortable, so that's where they ask me to assist them. I have a declaration of sovereignty that I encourage people to claim over their lives, because we need to declare our sovereignty over so many dark systems and dark entities. And once we do that, we start to gain our personal power. And that's really the key to healing. We have to take back our power from the people, the entities, the sources around us that have sought to destroy and pull that power from us. And your life can really change once you start to take back your personal power, because the people who have been using you, manipulating you, sucking that power will get very angry and upset when they can no longer use you for that purpose. So you can notice some big shifts. But yes, I talk a lot about how people can restore their personal power. I have sessions on that. I encourage people to claim their personal sovereignty even out loud every day. And I just had a person who started this 2 days ago. They didn't even receive a session from me. They just started declaring their sovereignty in who they are and their own power. And completely different person. A lot of their spiritual oppression has gone away. They feel like, just this heaviness, darkness has been lifted off of them. And so, yes, I very much want to empower people. I don't think people should be dependent on a system. And I get a lot of clients that get better. And so I'm not that big pharma industry that feeds off of people staying sick, because they don't make money when you're well. And I don't care. I'm off of referrals and word of mouth, and I have so many clients, and my clients are getting better. But I'm not in fear that, I'm not going to get enough clients, so I better make sure you're sick and drag this out. If I could instantly, resolve the issue, do it. If you can resolve it by declaring your sovereignty, do it. If you can do it by watching some of my videos and taking down my tips, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Good for you. Teach your children.
Now, these dark entities that you're talking about, what do you think they are, and what do you think that they want?
Okay, that's a loaded question. There's a big answer for that. Okay, the main thing that these entities want is they want your soul. So we all have a soul. It resides within our heart. It has a spark of light from our Creator. And once we realize that and start to ignite it and send out that heart energy into the world, we become an extremely powerful force. And so I find that people who are starseeds or more gifted, I find this in a lot of children, they are severely oppressed and attacked by dark entities from a very young age, if not past lives. And so they come with a lot of dark attachments, because the dark side wants to keep them suppressed from realizing who they really are. And so these dark entities, once we gain our personal power, then they're terrified of us. And I honestly think it's laughable when they try to attack me now and shut me down, because I take it as a compliment, honestly. They must be really worried that I'm going to do something, and I do. But so I found everything from demons. There are archons, which are mechanical. If you've watched The Matrix, they're mechanical mind or beings that don't really have a soul. There's everything from draconians, where you've heard of draconian policies. They let us know and put that information out there. They tend to be very dark. It's very hard for them to switch to the light. It's a very, very small percentage of those draconians that would ever choose light. There's reptilian beings, which I believe are called Nephilim in the Bible. And I've experienced about half of them choosing the light. So they can be a mix of light and darkness. A lot of them have a contract where they've signed on to serve the darkness. And so they're bound into that contract. So once someone, like I do this a lot, gives them an opportunity to break that contract and release it for them, often they will choose the light. And so I do a lot of collective work as much as I can, probably every day, and trying to add as much light into the world. And, if these beings want to switch from the dark to the light, let's do it. We definitely want our enemies on our side, right? If we can switch them, that adds more energy and vibration to the earth. So that's always my biggest hope. There could be really anything. Your mind is your imagination. Watch movies. They disclose a lot of the truth in movies, sci-fi. It's probably real. They have to disclose it. And so they do it in the form of media a lot of the time. So I don't know if that answered your question, but there could be demons or entities on our family lines. We could be corded to them. And so when they're corded, it's like a super highway where they can access us through a portal, even if they were on an ancestor, say 60 generations ago. They can be tied to a property, imprints of them through time if traumas have happened to the land. There's different ley lines across the earth, and so they can travel through those energies. Is the ley line taken over by darkness or light? When it's dark, it's a portal for dark things to travel through. And so I'm constantly finding more things. A lot of dark things are also AI technology that is fused with spiritual dark entities so they can combine. So there you go. That's my short answer.
No, that's good. So they feed off of, fear. They feed off of chaos. They feed off of, hate. Is this like they're trying to, stir people up so they can feed off of this energy?
Absolutely. You hit on something that is one of the biggest contributors to this is fear. And they call it fear porn. If you turn on your TV and look at the news, what is it? Fear, fear, fear. They have incredible power in creating a fear-like environment. And so our biggest way to defeat them is to cast out all fear and live in a place of peace and love. And they really lose a lot of their power because I say fear fuels their fire. And so when we take that away, they don't have anything left. And if we do have entities within us, usually there's some dark energy there or trauma still left. And so it's just a matter of working to clear off those dark strongholds that they could have to release them, and then they can't bother us. And this is one of my favorite examples to give, that a prisoner of war who is fearless is worthless to the enemy. They can do whatever they want to you, and you are completely worthless to them. But someone who is completely gripped by fear can be used for great detriment to, their side if the enemy can control them by fear.
So the best thing that we can do is live in the power of our love and, just, stand in our own, skin and be happy and proud. And no matter what happens, we just live in that light.
Yes. And I always say that our Creator gave us this gift. He gave us a soul, and there's a spark of light within. And it's kind of a slap in the face for us to reject that gift and say, I'm not going to use that. I'm too weak, and play that victim. Like everything's happening to me and poor me and the world's just coming at me. As soon as we can step up into our sovereignty, we cast off that victimhood and we become a very powerful force. And when we can start spreading that spark and igniting it and using it to put out love, Love literally does conquer all. And I know it's a cliche statement, but it conquers fear, it conquers doubt, shame, all these low vibration emotions. It has a much higher vibration than, say, shame, which is only 20 hertz, which is actually the lowest vibration emotion. And it's very close to death. And so many people are living in a place of fear and shame and torment and despair. And so once they realize the power lies within and it was a gift to us, what can you do once you realize that? It's quite incredible once people fully grasp that simple concept.
Can we rid this earth or this dimension of these negative, dark entities?
So we're currently in the third dimension, and it's a matrix dimension. And I have been trying to do my best to really, reduce and clear these as much. I know there's other workers or healers, light workers that are doing the similar things that I am. I honestly don't think we're ever going to clear the third dimension. It's too low of a vibration. Many people are moving to the fifth dimension right now, which is also a matrix construct. So it's essentially another matrix, except it's a higher vibration frequency. And then there's something outside of the 5D matrix. And my son is very gifted. He is only 11. And some of the stuff he talks about is quite profound. But he talks about where we're at right now is Earth School. We're here to learn. Our soul is on a journey. And essentially, I'm like a farm girl. So I have chickens and goats and all this stuff. And so I like to describe this as chickens in an egg. They get, this little seed gets planted and fertilized and it starts growing in the darkness. And through our lives, we get more and more pressure and imbalances, different experiences. Most of them probably aren't pleasant. And eventually we get to a point where either the chick decides that it's going to die in the egg because it doesn't have enough strength to break out. This little chick has to break out of this egg. Or we have enough experiences and life traumas that happen to us that we say, I'm done with this. I'm going to stand in my own personal sovereignty and I'm going to bust out of this thing and I'm going to become who I was destined to be. And then they grow up into this beautiful, chicken that can produce other chickens and, spread their light. And I really love my chickens. They're like my pets. So, it's a good analogy for me to use them to describe that. So think of it as Earth School and growing pains. And are you going to let yourself to be defeated and crawl in your hole of victimhood? Or are you going to step out and declare who you are, who you were created to be, and help others? Spread this. We can be very infectious with our energy. It's the toroidal field of fear is extremely small around the heart. It's shaped like a donut. And the toroidal field of love is 10 or more times bigger than that. So that's how much more powerful our energy can be once we operate in a place of love and self-power versus this tiny shell of fear.
So where is the third dimension and where is the fifth dimension?
In relation to third dimension is where we're at right now.
So would the earth be are we here in the third dimension on earth, or is the earth, the third dimension and the fifth dimension, or is it the third dimension and fifth dimensions in the mind? You're either living in the third dimension here in the earthly, matrix, or you're transcending. You can still be here on earth, but now you've transcended yourself into the fifth dimension where you're not, living in that fear, that chaos, that energy that wants to suck the soul out of you.
I think it's actually a combination of both, and I don't profess to know all the answers. I think we'll know when we get there. I feel like fifth dimension is actually a place, but it also is combined right now with the third dimension. There's people who are living much higher than the third dimension, and you've probably experienced this where it seems like there's people who are literally living in a different world or realm. I know people who are still, covering their face. They're terrified that they're going to get this sea bug illness, and that is controlling their life. They have literally chosen to die in fear and stopped living their life. And then there's people like probably you and I, where I've still been traveling. I've never covered my face. I've just went on as if nothing's happened. And when I see them, it feels so foreign to me because I'm so far removed. And if I turn on the news, it seems silly. I can completely look through it. So I know I am operating in a higher dimension, but I think we're going to get to a place where eventually this third dimension fades away and we're no longer cognizant of the darkness and things that are happening, and we are elevated above that. My son talks about different levels of heaven, and he says that the first 3 dimensions of heaven are kind of similar to what we're in right now. But he said above the third dimension, you no longer need a bed. You don't need to sleep anymore. And so there's some different changes that happen as we raise our vibration. He said the first dimension of heaven, the only difference is that the airports are trees. And so like he has some really interesting thoughts about, he's full knowing, like he was born knowing my energy. He remembers what my aura color was when I first held him when he was born. He's adopted. And he remembers his birth moms. And he was telling me even about what happened to him in the womb while he was there. Like he remembers it clear as day. So he's a fun source of some of my information. I have like a lot of downloads myself, but I think it's a complex answer. I feel like also, this is one of my latest discoveries, that everything is inverted. So up is down, down is up, as above, so below. I feel like even the sky, what we think is up is actually the pit of hell, or like the bottomless pit. And when this solar eclipse happened, I saw the Eye of Sauron, like you on the Lord of the Rings, open up this portal of the pit. And so we've been wishing upon stars and worshiping up to what? I feel like we're literally on this dual earth, and we're upside down right now, but we don't realize it. There's many movies that portray this, like Pirates of the Caribbean, Matrix, Inception. I don't watch a lot of TV anymore, but I used to. And I feel like there's a lot of people that talk about a pole shift. So I'm curious if this plays a role in when we actually flip. Are we going to flip physically? I know there's a void in between this inverse world and this one that's actually right side up. So I'm always pondering these thoughts, and I don't know how it really looks, but we should always ask why. Neo is told in the Matrix 2, I've been doing research because their 4th one is coming out called Resurrection on the winter solstice. Interesting timing. And he's told that there's actually, we don't really have a choice here. It's an illusion, but all power lies in the ability to ask why. And our power does lie in the ability to unlock our mind and start asking really difficult, complicated questions and trying to wrap your mind around, are we literally upside down right now, and up is down and down is up, as above, so below? Is this real? I think it is, honestly. And why are we grounding ourselves to the center of the earth? If you believe biblically that hell is the center of earth, why would we be grounding ourselves closer to that? It doesn't make any sense. Once you start to ask the questions that people will say you're crazy for daring to ask, and I'm not someone who's afraid to ask those tough questions. So keep asking why, and you'll find your redemption and freedom.
Do you think there is a hell?
I do feel like there's definitely a bottomless pit, and I don't know what it is. My son has talked about this place that it is very, very dark, and we definitely don't want to go there. I've done a lot of talking lately about the death spiral, which is actually the Fibonacci spiral, fib of no chi, which means lie of no chi or energy. Chi is our life force. And that is a false matrix overlay that they've indoctrinated us to believe that our entire life is based on the Fibonacci curve, when essentially that rotates into a death spiral and black hole. The real curve is slightly different, and it is called the crystal curve. And so we had 2 eclipses. We had a lunar eclipse and then a solar eclipse on December 4th. And what I saw is during that time, those spirals were merged together as one. And after this December 4th, I saw them start to split off. And the dark, I call it the death spiral, started to go through that portal that opened into the pit. And there are beings that are on that spiral. Not a lot of what we would consider humans, but things like draconians, some of the archons, some reptilians, some of these really dark beings are on that spiral. And then other people are on what I would call the life spiral. And I see the life spiral actually splitting. And we're in this period where I see it splitting right now. There's people who are going to another matrix. They're still in Earth school. They haven't graduated, so they're going to go to the 5D Earth. They're somewhat awakened. They still need more education and awakening, so I see them going to 5D. And then there's other ones I see actually graduating outside of the matrix. And I don't know what that is. It's beyond a matrix. It's no longer a construct that is controlled environment. So I don't know. I'm interested to see the next Matrix movie that comes out. I watched some of the stuff for research actually, because I think they have a lot of information and they disclose it to us. We just have to be open-minded enough to receive the messages that are there.
Well, supposedly part of their satanic covenant is that they have to tell us what they're going to do to us before they do it to us in order to absolve them of any karmic or universal liability. Do you know much about Cern and what they're doing with Cern? Because, some people think that they're opening up a portal to Saturn and trying to bring the entity or dark entities here, Satan or an actual dark entities. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, the dark entities are already here. They've been here since this matrix was created. And I've done a lot of research on Cern. I've actually done a lot of collective work on Cern. That's one of my projects I work on a lot. And so they currently don't have any portals open. They might want us to believe that they do, but they've been all shut down and closed off. And they did have an intention. I think they were trying to create a black hole to absorb this all into eternal darkness. But that's been averted, thankfully, because those of us who are aware that time is only a matrix construct, and outside of the matrix, there is no time or space. Well, there's space, but there's no matter. We can work in the future to affect things that are happening in the past. And there's a movie that just came out on Amazon, and I forget what it's called. I was reading about it last night. I haven't watched it, where the people right now go into the future to fight a war to save the people that are headed into extinction from these alien beings. And so that's kind of what I look at myself as doing. I work in the future a lot, or even the past, to avert these things that are coming to bring darkness and to destroy humanity and to remove all of our souls.
So what's your thoughts on actual time travel, of people being able to physically go into the future or being able to go in the past, not just, remotely, but actual, being able to change the course of history or be able to go back in time? Do you think that this is actually possible?
Oh, of course. Absolutely. I've studied Nikola Tesla's work quite extensively, and he had the ability to do that. It was quite fascinating, move people from one part of the country to others. There's some other people, and I don't remember their names, who have done this as well. I think this is possible. Like Yeshua in the Bible, he left, he descended, and then he ascended, and then he came back. And so did he do that as well? I don't know how to personally do it with my physical body. My son is telling me that he's going to start doing this. He was like, he wrote me a letter yesterday, a goodbye letter. And he said, I might disappear for a while. It's okay. It's just part of my mission, but I'll be back. Don't worry about me. And I'm like, what? And he's like, no, it's okay. It's fine. He goes, I might be leaving with my physical body, not just my mind. So we'll see, if he literally leaves. But
How old?
I'm sorry.
How old?
He's 11.
11. Wow.
He's very awakened and in tune. I have to be still to get some of my information. He just is like boom, boom, boom. He knows it. He knows so much. And there's a lot he knows that he can't disclose to me yet. So I'm asking him questions all the time. And he's like, I can't answer that. Stop asking me questions. I can't answer that. So it's interesting.
so like some cosmic secrecy.
Yes, he knows a lot about the weather, the volcanoes, the earthquakes, the tsunamis, all this happening, tornadoes.
So what are some of your favorite affirmations and declarations?
I have a Telegram channel, which you actually put it on the bottom there. It's Roots Restored Wellness. In the pinned post is a phenomenal, I would say, declaration of sovereignty. That's my favorite one. People have received incredible benefits from starting to use that. For people who are experiencing dark forces over them or their children, like night terrors and feeling like there's spirits or they might see physical things walking around their house, I like to use Psalm 91 for that. Otherwise, most of what I use just comes naturally through intuition. So I don't really repeat a lot of things myself, like on a mantra, because I just do what comes in the moment. And there's a lot of amazing information that I have an open Telegram page where anyone on there can contribute. I know a lot of people are comfortable doing that, but I do. And so there's some very intuitive, wonderful intuitive souls there, and so they share some fabulous information and different affirmations or encouraging messages there as well.
Okay, and how about your favorite ways to be on a higher vibration?
Okay, there's a lot of them. Our mind is very powerful, so what we think in our mind, we can actually manifest. And so when I'm in a negative situation or something that could bring me down, I try to go to that place of peace and love and raise my mind above that situation. And we can be very powerful if we use our energetic power that's a gift from our creator within us to send love or peace into that situation. And this is something a lot of empaths really struggle with. I've had to teach him this. I do a lot of training in my sessions, especially with children, teaching them to push out love and concern and care to people versus pulling in their sickness and illness into us. Because once we do that, we weaken ourselves and lower our vibration, and then we're in a hindered place of being able to help others. So we can help others easier when we are in a stronger, more vibrant place ourselves. Meditation, like spending time going within and just being silent. It's very hard to be still in this changing world. Food and diet can play a big role in the way that we're feeling physically and mentally and emotionally. So I try to eat a very clean diet. I'm always drinking, like this is lemon water I'm drinking right now, and I drink a lot of Dandy Blend tea. I love nature. I absolutely adore animals. So I go spend time with my goats and my chickens, and I have dogs and a cat. Holding my baby, like hold babies. They're the sweetest, like amazing things. I will spend hours just staring at my baby a day and rocking her. I love it. And trying to not let the world control you, because we are in this matrix of the wheel of time. It keeps spinning and we're on the clock and everything is about time. Time matters. And so if you can break out of that time mentality that causes anxiety and rushing and rushing and rushing, and just say, no, I'm just going to be, I'm okay being. And one of the most profound things that helped me was the book Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Probably said that wrong. But he talks about living in the now moment, because when we live in the past of regret, we are depressed. When we're living in the future, we're anxious. Oh my gosh, I have so much to do. And then you end up blowing the only moment that you actually had to live by focusing on a time that is not even present in this moment. And so really, if you can just be still, you could think of the 20 things you need to do this week because it's holidays, or you could ask yourself, is anything wrong with me right now? Am I okay? Do I absolutely need to do anything in this moment right now? Take a breath and just be. And that's where I used to have severe panic attacks and depression. I was in a place of, a lot of suicidal thoughts. I was not in a very dark place for most of my life due to chronic pain and extreme suffering. And that was so helpful for me. I no longer have panic attacks, and I am definitely not depressed. And I just really focus being present with the people around me. Put down your phone, look people in the eye, play physical games with your children, hold your babies, pet your animals. make good food, go visit your grandma, like those things, like real connection, real experiences with people is really brings up my vibration.
Yeah, putting down your phone is a big one for a majority of people right now that are so sucked into it.
And something about the phone a lot of people don't know is that most devices could have tens of thousands of portals opened on them. So this is like a black scrying mirror, and they are programmed to open portals for dark things. So my husband got a new phone, and it was like wrecking havoc in our home for a week as I was working to shut down the portals and all the programs that were running. And there's even something called inception hooks that every time your phone or a program updates, it can install new inception hooks that literally suck you in and they're very difficult to release, but they can cause all kinds of imbalances and inversions in your life. And so that's one of the biggest sources of negative energy that I find is actually devices and media, especially video games, very harmful. And they are intended to bring down your vibration.
I would visit a friend of mine, and he would be playing this Call of Duty. And all he's doing is going and shooting people and shooting people and shooting people for hours and hours every night, day after day, day after day. It's all he played in all his spare time. So you get that kind of mentality where you want to shoot people. You just feel like, everybody's kind of an enemy, and so it's definitely not a healthy vibration to be living in, for sure.
And it removes the humanity. Like if you really cared about humanity, wouldn't you feel a check in your spirit to like shooting people or some of the things that those video games do? Even the ones that seem innocent, like Minecraft, they're purposely programmed to install post-hypnotic suggestions in the mind. And this happens when we're in this kind of semi-hypnotic state. It could be the background music or some of the graphics that turn off part of our mind. And then they install these negative phrases, and there could be thousands of different ones. And I've experienced clients with over 5,000 post-hypnotic suggestions programmed into their mind through media. And these could be like negative phrases like you're a loser, you shouldn't be here, everybody hates you, nobody likes you, you're worthless. And imagine those running on repeat constantly in the back of your mind. At the beginning, people might resist that and say, no, I know that's a lie. That's not me. But if you hear it repeatedly and repeatedly, eventually you might become to a point where you believe that is truth. And I honestly feel like that's why more and more children at a younger age are doing self-harm behaviors, because of their addiction to media and all of these post-hypnotic suggestions that are being repeated. And the parents have no idea that these are running in the minds of their children or even adults. So most people have a minimum 500 post-hypnotic suggestions just from watching movies, listening to different music, video games, some of the stupid games you could even play on your phone.
They've been doing
stay away from those.
they've been doing the subliminal messaging for, started with the radio and through TVs and, like now, how you said, through these portals. So, we've been, battling, these forces for a long time that have been, like you said, trying to steal our soul.
Absolutely. And it's really unfortunate. People just have no idea. They put all this right in front of our faces. They call it tele-lie-vision, programming. They're literally programming you with telling a lie vision. And then the people who are on there are called broadcasters. What do we cast? We cast spells. Casting spells on people. A really powerful book to read is called Word Magic. And it talks about all the deception in the English language, where we can really be casting spells with our words. People will say, well, I'm a follower of this, of Jesus or whoever. What does that mean? Fall lower? You're falling lower. And so there's hundreds and hundreds of these phrases we may use, just like, do you understand? Really? Or do you want to overstand what someone's saying or understand what they're saying? And so we can be doing this without even knowing, because we're conditioned that, it's just words. They don't really mean anything. words will never hurt me, but our words are very powerful, and that which we expose ourselves to.
Yeah, through the etymology. And that's what, the police use is, do you understand? Because they're getting you to agree that you stand under them. And
Mm-hmm.
that means they've got power and authority over you. And you're literally agreeing to that just by that one simple phrase. And people like, I'm not sure if you know the wrestler Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Mm-hmm.
He had this saying with HE double hockey stick, yeah. And so he's literally saying, manifesting this word and giving it a positive connotation to it. So, I try not to even say some of these words, because especially not, give it any power. So my question is, for the empathetic people with what's going on right now, how do you handle with all the kids getting, shot up and, for all the kids that don't even have a voice, to not feel for what's going on, to seeing the mask, to seeing them being injected by, I call it demon juice.
Yeah. This is a really hard one, and it's meant to bring down our vibration. All of these negative disclosures, I say, expose yourself in a limited way. Don't feel like you have to jump in, because we need to maintain our frequency and our vibration. And so use caution if you're, being exposed to this. They're purposely blasting out the most horrific stories and trying, in the truther community, to bring our vibration down. They know it's going to pull on our heartstrings. A lot of these, I call them our marks, have been transmuted to saline. So that's encouraging. And a lot of I don't know how people will take this, but I found that a lot of the children dying right now, because there's obviously children dying, they don't have a soul. So there's quite a few beings here that actually don't have a soul. The soul may have been harvested. They may have given up their soul. They could have a walk-in soul. And so I'm finding that almost all of the ones dying actually don't even have a soul. And my son gives me much peace in saying that, well, if we die, our soul never dies. So he has zero fear of death. He's like, you just die and then your soul is still alive. And then you could come back to another body if you want, or you can stay in the spiritual realm. And so we are so tied into this physical body, and they indoctrinate us so much with fear that this physical vessel is all you've got. Once you lose this, you're done, and there's nothing else. But we have to realize that our soul is eternal. Even if we get our soul harvested, which means it gets removed from your body, and then you might have something else come into this physical vessel, your soul is still intact, and it's now just displaced outside of the physical. And so it is hard to, watch these children going through this. It's very hard. I'm not saying that I don't find that difficult, but knowing that anytime I see that, or I'm constantly, and I know others are working to transmute those into saline or truth serum for the adults, let's wake them up. And then realizing their soul is still there. They're okay. Just like my babies who passed away, I have peace in knowing that their soul's still there. My son can see them. And like my daughter, she's in another body now. She was born, I think this year, is another body. And so we just, can keep getting experiences and moving to a different vessel, or maybe we stay out of the vessel for a while and we have a different experience outside of a body.
Kumara was the person, we interviewed first today. He's a good friend of ours. He said when he was born, right away, and he remembers everything, like your son. And he said he didn't want to be here. I want to go back. He didn't actually want to be here. So, if the chance, would you want to come back here for another role of this? Because I know a lot of people that say like, yeah, I'd rather not come back here again.
Oh, I probably would say no, but I've learned something interesting, that we actually, this is again stepping out of that victimhood. Most of us, well, all of us actually have a soul contract. And before we came here, we agreed to go through a lot of the experiences that we're facing. Like my soul agreed to go through the hell of Lyme disease for 28 years. My soul agreed to lose the children that I lost through miscarriage. And we agreed to that knowing from seeing this bigger picture that for you, you're that stubborn of a person. For me, obviously, you're going to have to go through that many trials and that much negative things for you to build up the strength, the courage, the experience in your soul so that you can hopefully break free and be who you really needed to be. Because when I look on my past lives, it was like I didn't achieve what I wanted to achieve in those lives. I didn't come into my full power. I didn't help humanity the way that I wanted to. So I feel like I agreed at some point, my soul agreed to come back here and do this again. And there's times where I want to shake myself and say, what were you thinking? Are you crazy? And we're in a time right now where a lot of these contracts can be broken. And so if you're going through a really hard time, you can just ask yourself, do I have a contract to do this? Have I learned what I needed to learn from this? Can I break it? And often when we break those contracts, then we are done with whatever that life experience was that is probably not the most pleasant, but we learned from it. Think of those children who we would consider, spoiled brats, where they've got everything handed on a silver platter, nothing goes wrong in their life. What kind of human beings do they turn out to be? Usually not the best. And they're pretty self-centered, full of ego and pride. And I say, what our job here is to die to ourselves, give up all of our ego, give up our pride, and work to serve others and realize that there's so much more beyond us and who we are in this vessel. We're here to serve humanity. And so we need to, if we're very stubborn like I am, go through a lot of experiences to get there. And so that is another way you can step out of that victim mentality, take back your personal power and sovereignty, and realize, I'm a pretty strong person. I agreed to do this. Okay, let's do it. What do I have to learn from this? And how can I move past it and be who I'm supposed to be?
How much do you remember of your past lives and in detail, and was there been a lot?
I remember 5, and my son said that I've had quite a few others. He remembers different ones than I do for me. And I know that I was in Lemuria at one time, and I don't know I had some position. I was a female in that life of power, and somehow I allowed dark energies to come in because I was too trusting. And so I felt somewhat responsible for that happening. I had a memory of being in Atlantis. I feel like Atlantis had a similar downfall to what we're experiencing right now in our humanity, where they became they wanted to take over souls. They wanted all this power. They were forcing medical treatments on people. And I felt like I was a male in that lifetime. And again, in a place of power where I was forcing these treatments on people. And again, oh my gosh, bad choices. So I've come back and had a chance to redeem myself and do the exact opposite. I completely stand for medical freedom and freedom of choice and standing in power. And I don't think anyone should have the right to tell you what you should do with your family or your vessel or, any of that. So that was one. I had a memory of being, do you want me to go through some of these or?
Yeah, if you'd like. No, this is great.
I felt like I was a shaman, like a healer. And I had a lot of trauma. We talked about this at the beginning because a child died in my care. And the father of that child, I think, killed me. He was extremely angry. And it wasn't my fault that the child died, but I was very hard on myself at that time because that happened. And then I know I froze to death in Alaska in one of my lives. And I've had Raynaud's, and I don't have it anymore, where I hate the cold and severe trauma. And one of my greatest fears is getting stuck in the cold. And it stemmed from that time when I actually froze to death in this frozen tundra. And so again, we can have traumas from past lives that affect us even physically. Like my hands used to turn purple, and from the age of 16, I wasn't able to go skiing anymore because of that, Raynaud's effect on my body. And I live in Montana, like one of the coldest places. And so those are some of my experiences. I had one where I was very abused as like, I felt like I was a pioneer woman, and I'm still kind of a pioneer. I feel like I still have some of that energy in me. Like I just want to live on the plains and have my animals and like have a garden and everything. But she was brutally assaulted, and she went through a lot of trauma. I think she was a widow, and it was a very difficult life. And so those are some of the ones that I remember.
So did they just come to you, the visions, or do you think about them, or can you go to them and start reliving some of the stuff?
A lot of them just come to me. Most of them have come to me, I would say, in the last 2 to 3 months, where I actually, before that time, I really wasn't open to past lives, honestly. I was raised like Catholic, where all of this talk, everything I do was considered evil, and how dare you, and don't even talk about that. And so I dared to ask the question, did I actually have past lives? And once I started realizing that, then it was like this can of worms opened up, and I started flooding in, and I started getting revealed different traumas that were connected to the physical problems I was having in this body, in this life, tied back to those past lives. And on clients, I would find something we would call preconception trauma or emotion. And I had some very interesting things that would come up even for myself. Like I was in these battles, and I just was like, it never made sense to me. I was like, was this in heaven? I don't know where I experienced this, but now it makes more sense when I am like, yeah, I live past lives. Like it's there. There's trauma from that.
So do you think, the new life, that it's a predetermined destiny, that, things are already predetermined to happen? Or is it more like choose your own adventure, and things, kind of adapt to whatever choices you do make?
We definitely get choices. Absolutely. I feel like it's like the Maze Runner though, where they get thrown into this strange world and environment, and they're wiped. Like they're completely wiped of all their memories. So I think we agree to these soul contracts before we come to this physical body. And then we get wiped clean, and it's our job to figure out who we are, what our purpose is, what we need to learn from this experience, and see if we can overcome and release our karma. And that's one thing I've been doing and working on collectively, is helping release karma from people. Like this is the time to release it. We're done. Like we're at the end of this cycle. We're at this end of this 26,000 year cycle right now. And the time to release all of this is now. That's why I say we can break so many of these contracts that we've had. Most of them, I'm finding I can just release them off a lot of my clients without a lot of digging. They've learned their lessons, or, it's a quick soul lesson, and then we can release it. So I think it's a combination, but we know going in what we might face and what we signed up to experience to help us grow and be who we need to be, hopefully to achieve our mission of becoming enlightened and, using our lives for humanity and service. Obviously, we can choose a different path, a path of destruction. We can make contracts with the darkness. We can check out early, suicide, checking out early. And so, yeah.
Now, about 12 years ago, I, had a 45-day trip to Asia where I went to 8 different countries. And before I went, I kind of got pressured into, getting the injections, going to all these third world places and all this kind of stuff. And, immediately I started to get Achilles tendonitis, and then it started to attack my hip joints. And, for the last probably 8 years, I've been living in chronic, hip pain. They say the cartilage is very, almost gone, almost bone on bone. So, it's even sometimes a challenge to put on my socks. how would, I go about, because most people say that, well, there's Dr. Daryl Wolf, who we've had on here a few times, that he says it's just scar tissue. And we went to BC, and his son Sage was digging his elbows into my hip joints and trying to break up that scar tissue, which was pretty painful. Is there a way to, help alleviate that pain that I'm constantly, and I don't take any pharmaceuticals, I only cannabis, but I've been doing cannabis for, most of my life, but I don't put anything synthetic into me.
Okay, so for you, I just did the session yesterday, but I have a session on the arm marks. It's not, there's a separate one for the most recent, the C version. But then I encompass all other types into one session, and so I remove the energies of those from the body. A lot of time, well, always, there's smart tech that they inject in those. There's prions, which are misfolded and proteins that cause mutations of other proteins in the body, and that's linked to mad cow disease, degenerative bone or brain diseases. It can cause hallucinations, pins and needles. There's quite a fatigue, a lot of different symptoms, changes in personality from prions, very, very harmful to the body. And so I work to remove those in the sessions, and it's very gentle on the body. You might have a few days of feeling like you're going through a little bit of detoxing. And then I do an issue specific session where you can pretty much have me work on any one issue that you have. And that one I actually have tonight. I'll be up probably till 1 or 2 a.m. working on my sessions. And it's just working with your body. Your body has the answers. So anytime I am stuck on something, I'm always told the answer lies within. And so essentially what I do is I remove the blockages and imbalances that are preventing your body from being able to heal itself. Once those are removed, your body can start to heal. We can give the body what it needs to balance out those tissues that have started to atrophy or, dissolve away over time or become full of scar tissue. I used to have so much pain around my belly button because I've had several surgeries there, that even like any fabric felt like excruciating pain on my skin. And that is completely gone. And it was from scar tissue buildup it was like a bundle of scar tissue tied up in the nerves. And it's been completely alleviated. I can't promise, one session and you'll be cured, because everybody's body is different, but we just work at your pace that your body allows. And the better job, if you're doing a better job taking care of yourself and raising your vibration, you eat a clean diet, you try to stay in a positive mindset, your journey is going to happen much quicker than someone who's still like living, they're making really poor choices, like emotionally, physically, spiritually. That's going to be look completely different. And if you feel like, oh, this can't work, your mind's powerful. You're saying it can't work. And one of the biggest breakthroughs for my healing journey was deep inside. I had a false core belief that I didn't believe I was worthy to be healed. So how can you ever get better if at the core of your being, you don't believe it's possible? And so through this work, I work to remove false core beliefs and blockages that may be hindering our healing process. Whether you choose any other modality of healing, if you want to seek other providers, you could have blocks that are preventing all types of healing, no matter what, modality you choose.
Yeah, I've done, so much to change. Like, 8 years ago, I stopped, drinking alcohol. 7 years ago, I stopped selling synthetic drugs. 7 years ago, I stopped smoking cigarettes. 4 years ago, I stopped eating meat. I'm a very positive, very, belief. I believe in this healing. So it's just, for me, it's, hard for me because, I've talked to lots of, doctors, and, I have got a research doctor in the family, and he's saying that you can't regrow scar tissue, and basically that surgery is the only option. And I've been trying, I've been praying, I've been meditating. I don't have like 100% the best diet. I still have the white wheat, and still have some cheese. I do eat eggs. I like eggs and stuff is one of the proteins that I do get into my diet. But it just seems like, without surgery, I'm having a hard time, trying to heal these, hips that, have been bothering me for so long.
Something else I might suggest for you that my naturopath does is called Prolozone Injections. You can look up those on YouTube. And they're injecting ozone, different vitamins, and it can regrow tissue. And so I was one of those clients where I did those injections for 3 years and they never helped me. Just very difficult case. But my husband had what maybe people would describe as like a tennis elbow. One injection and it's never came back, completely resolved. My friend, her husband or boyfriend is a horseshoer, and he was having some pain in his arm. I think he had 1 or 2 and it resolved. So it could be something simple like that, check into Prolozone Injections if that's right for you. There is a supplement I used to take when I was dealing with stage 4 endometriosis and extreme scar tissue in the abdominal cavity, and that was called Wobenzyme N. And it's something athletes take. It's an enzyme that actually breaks down scar tissue. And one of my surgeons made a note that he goes, from your last surgery to this surgery, you have a substantially less amount of scar tissue. We normally don't see that. And this is before I knew about energy and quantum healing. And so that was what I was taking. So I feel like that could make a difference possibly for you, do what resonates. I think we could, should use as many approaches as we can.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks so much. A good friend of ours, Lisa here, she says, when we were talking before, what about birthmarks? Do you believe they could be from possibly the way you died in a previous life?
I haven't experienced that, honestly, Lisa. I just think that's a unique part of your body and the way the manifestation of your DNA and your genes. It could be tied to something ancestral. So maybe there is something that happened to one of your ancestors that left what I call a miasm or inherited sickness energy or energetic imprint through the DNA that would manifest in such a way. I have had clients with marks on them that have been from hexes or vexes or curses, that type of energy. And so once you remove that, a lot of times those markings will go away too.
So do you think that we're a floating ball spinning through space? And, because like you said before, everything is inverted. And, even, they're telling us what things are, and NASA getting, $5 million a day when, they're trying to find other places when they can't even feed the people here.
Yeah, I've done a lot of research on the Earth, flat Earth, and I don't profess to know exactly what the Earth looks like, but I definitely don't believe we're a ball spinning through space at 1,000 miles per hour. And somehow for thousands of years, the constellations have remained in the same place and the North Star has remained in the same place. And so I feel like we could be either, there's a couple theories that I have. We are flat ish, with the ice wall of Antarctica around us. Or we could be a little bit concave, or I've seen a new recent one, which is this huge giant ball, and Earth, like what we perceive as Earth, is just this tiny little like water ball or circle in the center of that, so there could be multiple different versions of what we would call Earth on this giant ball. And then we each have our own local, sun and moon. I feel like they're definitely local. There's my son and I used to homeschool, and my children and I did a lot of science experiments about the flat Earth. Our book would say, like, do this to show the globe. And then we would do the same experiment for the flat Earth. And it turned out better every single time on our flat Earth map, like the way shadows work. And if you have a coat on and you spin in a circle, things are flying off. But somehow through this magical thing of gravity, we are stuck on. And it can hold quadrillions of pounds of water upside down on a ball. Yet a butterfly can fly and a fish can swim and we can jump and my hair can flip out, So it's like, it's so strong, but yet it's so weak at the same time.
Yeah, I have no idea what the shape is, but I'm a math guy, and what you said about the stars, how can they be in the exact same place year after year after year if we are actually hurtling through space? So, next question, what do you think Nibiru is? And is it coming?
I have a couple, like, again, I never know these things. I don't profess to know all the answers. I think it is an energy controlled by Saturn. I think a lot of things tie back to Saturn. Like the sun that we have, I think is an inversion, like it gives power to Saturn. I think it's a false sun, the black sun, cube worship, black cube. And so I think however you say it, is part of their energy. I think it does exist. I think it was planned to come. And I don't know, I think that timeline may have been averted, honestly. So I don't think it's going to come anymore, but that's just my perception. If in the past on a different timeline, if you're staying in the 3D timeline, yes, that might be your reality and that's coming. If you're in 5D, it's not a concept, or it's a non-factor there. And beyond 5D, like everything that we think here it's not a factor. Like the new financial system and all these things, they're a non-factor outside of the matrix.
So what's your thoughts on, Donald Trump and his, White Hat Alliance and, their galactic connection and possibly, fixing things here?
So I feel like they're working in 3D, possibly some in 5D. I think that around 2016, 2017, Donald Trump had a walk-in, which is a soul, like, so before you come here, our souls can make an agreement that my soul is going to step out and this other soul is going to come into this vessel. And so I feel strongly that he had a walk-in around that time. And so he currently has that walk-in in him. I do think that he is communicating with extraterrestrials or other beings. And there is, you probably know about it, something called Project Looking Glass, which is kind of what I do, where we can see in the future and we can look at the different outcomes and timelines, and we can shift time, move where we're at on a timeline. One of the things the enemy was doing profusely was like switching the timeline. So we would get on a positive timeline and then they would pull us to a lower one. We've since changed it so that they can't be switching timelines anymore. We're on this timeline, even though we can be moving in different places on the wheel of this timeline, as long as we're in the matrix. So I feel like he is definitely working behind the scenes. He's working for what you would call the white hats, people who want to set humanity free. I think for people in the fifth dimension, what he's doing will probably be a reality. You might have Nasara, Jasara, the changing in the financial systems. Obviously, the removal of the cabal, the deep state, all of those dark energies. We're working on that right now. I heard something interesting today in one of my meetings, that there's a museum, maybe it's somewhere over on the East Coast, and they always have a photo of the most recent president displayed. And right now that photo is Donald Trump. And they said, this has never happened before. Usually it's what we would consider the current president. And so I feel like, I never usually talk politics. I just try to keep that out because I focus on healing. So this is probably the first any of my clients have heard my perspective on this. And most of them probably would agree. I don't know. But I think that Biden is actually a puppet set up by the white hats to expose the insanity of what's going on. And he's not really elected. He's in a fake, office, and they're literally trying to make him look like such a fool to try to wake people up. Like, at what point do you have to admit to yourself that this person is doing extreme destruction to our society and we're moving backwards and everything is a lie and it's just not adding up? And I know a lot of people who are still stuck in that cognitive dissonance. So what is it going to take to wake them up? Because they've done some pretty extreme things that are quite laughable, or just like, I don't know. I'm like, he's made such a fool of us to the world. And I mean, we're like a laughing stock right now. And so when do you wake up and stops like professing that he's the greatest thing ever? And I have literally family members who believe this. And so I get it. I get it. It's frustrating. Please wake up.
The programming is really deep, and
It is.
to see then not know that he's like a bumbling idiot that is, like you said, making the Americans look weak and like a laughing stock is hard for me to understand that people still defend him. I heard that Trump was still in charge because of the people that are inside of some mountain that are controlling all of the military, and they haven't came out since 2020, since this all started, since before he got put out, and they are actually still in control. But he did come out with the Operation Warp Speed, and this is a big stain on and if he was a walk-in in 2016 or 2017, that's still before the walk-in would have came out with this fast injecting everybody. And that's one of the biggest nightmares for people right now is whether or not they're going to reject this demon juice over living trying to get groceries in some places that are starting to, that they can't even get food now without these injections. And he was the major proponent in making it happen so fast. So it's still hard for me to understand. And I've been researching this stuff for 30 years. And so, I don't know what's going on. So, I'm just still obviously trying to figure this out like everybody else is.
My perception, and this is a theory I've heard and it makes sense to me, is that this Operation Warp Speed, they actually planned the real rollout for 2028. They had, it's called the SPARS epidemic. They had it all planned. This was the fake one, like the precursor to that. And his Operation Warp Speed actually forced them to push this like out before they were fully ready. And we can divide the population into thirds. There's a third of the population that would have got this no matter what. They love these things. This is what they live on. They're completely sold out to the big pharma industry. And then there's a third of the population who never would have got it no matter what. Like you could do anything to us and we would never succumb to this. There's that middle third that after 5 years of lockdowns, which is what they had planned for us, they would have succumbed and given into it. And because this was thrown out so fast and a lot of people started to get some of their freedoms back, these people, and then more information started to come out, started to wake up. And so I feel like this was possibly pushed forward to save that middle third of the people who they would have given in. And some of them have, because again, they're continuing to push and push. But if you do any research, or like read any back channels at all, you know how harmful this is and would never choose a job over this or, whatever they're threatening. And it ends when the people declare their sovereignty and stand up. You have one person ruling millions or tens of thousands of people. That one person holds the power as long as you let them. As soon as we stop complying and stop obeying and giving them our power, they have nothing to hold on us. Like we can make our own back channel co-ops of people. Like I sell eggs to people and we used to have bees and I do colloidal silver. And like, why aren't we trading with people and creating networks of people who believe in freedom? And I am connected in my community. We're doing this. We set up a back channel medical group of people who value medical freedom. So you can go there and not be worried that you're going to have CPS called on you and all this stuff, shoved down your throat and threats made against you. We need to start making our own system outside of their corrupt control networks. Again, taking back our sovereignty in our body, but also in our communities.
Have you heard, Biden say dark winter, and what do you think that is?
It has meant many things. They plan to release real deadly viruses that would knock out a lot of the population. So those have been averted. Again, that's like you see what's going to happen. People like me, I see what's going to happen in the future. I can go and clear off all of that and avert that. Last year, they had incredible famines planned for us and shortages. You saw it started, like they started to try to create this momentum for this panic. They were burning down all the manufacturing plants, telling all the farmers to destroy their crops, slaughter their animals. And I kept working against this, praying against this, and then it was averted. And same thing, they planned it again for this year. They were going to put out the Marburg virus, which is like a man-made fake thing. I think there were 16 cases in the world or something, and yet they've got a jab for it now, and that was going to be the next big thing, bleeding. And that's been averted. They're really grasping at straws. Omicron is kind of their last ditch effort. It wasn't supposed to come out till May 2022, and here we are. They're like extremely desperate now. And so they had these dark plans for us. You go through, think of it's darkest before the dawn. And as you're going through a tunnel, it's very dark until you get to the light. And so I look at us going through these different portals. We're in a portal from 1212 to 1221 right now. And I see it as a darkness, and we're like going to be opening into the light very soon. So just hang on. It feels really heavy right now. A lot of people are going through experiences of their deepest fears. That is to show you what fear you still have left, and you need to release it so you can bring up your vibration. And an interesting thing I saw today, I don't know if you follow the Schumann resonance at all, but the Earth's frequency used to be at 7.83 hertz pretty consistently. You know, it'd fluctuate a little bit, but that was kind of the baseline. And it's consistently like around 8.14 hertz now. So our vibration of our Earth is actually rising. So if you are stagnant and digging your heels and refusing to let go of your baggage and your darkness, things that are bringing down your vibration, you're going to have a really hard time going through this increasing frequency. These are some of the people that you see right now who are the sickest. They're holding on to their darkness and their baggage with all their might, and they're literally drowning. And there's people who are checking out right now. So there's a lot of people dying. I've heard of at least 3 people like in a close circle that died in the last 24 hours. And they're checking out with their soul. They're just like, nope, I'm done. There's people who gave up and chose not to do their mission. They went and got the arm mark. They don't care. They chose to give up their soul, and they checked out early. And they're going to have to, face like the failure of this life. And I don't know what it's going to look like for them since we're in the end of the cycle. Maybe they have to go back to 3D Earth, which is kind of suck. Maybe they get to go to 5D, which would be a big step up. Maybe they get to go outside of 5D. They've graduated from the Matrix programs. I don't know. It's interesting. I'm excited to see how this is going to play out. It's an amazing, exciting times we're living in right now. And if we look at it as Earth School and lessons to be learned, it changes a perspective, and it makes it not feel as heavy and overwhelming.
A good friend of ours, Andy Moreno from Tales of the Ship, he had a live where he invited me on last year, and there was 55 people, and we did a meditation, clearing some energies, and the Schumann resonance at that time when we all meditated, the 55 us together, spiked at that exact same moment. So he goes, look, he sent me some pictures of what actually happened, of the power of the collective of us, and the power, what it actually has on the resonance of, the earth. And it just shows how powerful we truly are here.
Absolutely. I think there's a statistic that if you have a vibration of at least 700 hertz, which is operating around the frequency of peace, that you can affect 70 million people. Like, that's amazing. And there's some people that are operating at a much higher vibration than that. So you could literally be impacting the world just by holding light and being who you are. It's quite phenomenal. And I've done some missions where the Schumann resonance has also spiked during our mission. And in one of our missions, it was quite phenomenal. Our screen the screen of one of our participants or healers started flashing literally with the Schumann resonance chart on her video feed. It was quite phenomenal, and she got a recording of it. And we're like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And then we would see that they were like huge white spikes while we were doing these missions. So absolutely, the power of our vibration affects the earth and all beings around us. You can feel it. If you walk into a room that is low vibration or negative energy, you instantly recoil back. And it's like, do I want to go in there? And versus a place that is just full of peace and love, and you just feel like, oh, I feel welcome there. Your body surges forward and you want to go into that. So are you going to be someone that people feel light and like they want to move towards that, or something that people want to coil away from because you're low vibration? What are you contributing? Who do you want to be?
Yeah, well said. And what's your thoughts about, old civilizations living inside of the earth, like possibly, like Agartha or Shambhala, or there's actually, other civilizations living, closely within us?
I feel that that's a very real possibility. What's the journey to the center of the earth? I think on our earth, the North Pole is an interesting thing. I think it's literally a hole. And I think it does lead into what we would call inner earth. I think they're probably a higher vibration of operation than we are. Is 5D earth actually inside the earth? It's possible, because I see, when I look at the earth, I see what we would consider hell, or the lower vibration pit, is actually our sky. So on the surface, we're closer to that like lower vibration. As you move towards the core, you're moving closer to the core of the soul of Mother Earth. And I think she has a very high vibration. She's like a feminine energy, is for what I feel. And like, once I actually walked through the void one day as I was exploring this, and at that time it was black. We've since overtaken the void and changed it into a rainbow bridge of white, pure light energy that has the full spectrum of all light, which is white. And I literally felt it was very peaceful in the void, but I felt myself literally flip. And then all the work that I was doing, I had about half of a day where I was working on clients while I was on the other side of this coin. And everything I did was inverted. So instead of grounding like to the earth, I had to ground up above. And when I was clearing entities, I had to clear them the opposite way and send them the opposite way that I would. I'm since like on the same side as everybody else. I wasn't ready to go there yet. I just, for my research, I felt like, okay, I have to go here before I tell people about it and experience this and make sure that it's not, walking into a trap or something. But it felt very high vibration on that side, and things were definitely different. Not saying that I walked into the middle of the earth, but it definitely felt, I went through a void, walked on the flip side of what we are now. It felt very different. And I'm very excited, because I think someday we'll get the answer to what's in the middle, or the inside flip side of the earth. I think there is something there. I've had a vision of like the core of the earth as this encrusted, it looked like black lava around this blue ball of like vibrant electric blue energy. And there were cracks forming. And I think that's the soul of the earth. And I think once it breaks open, we're going to have what people would call the great shift, maybe what they would call the solar flash. There's different names for this, and we might experience it different, especially if you're on a different timeline or in a different dimension. It'll be different for 3D versus 5D. And so our experiences could be very different.
So they tell us, and who knows what is true from what they tell us, because a lot of what they tell us, if not almost everything, is total full of shit. But they say that we use about 10% of our brain, and I could see us not using our full capacity, because I believe a lot of our abilities have been hindered from us, whether it's the telekinesis and other things. I believe that language brought these spells, this spelling, and kind of took us away from away from ourselves. But do you think that we could possibly be able to like fly? Because in my dreams, I've seen like, you know, how in the Matrix, how Neo goes and does that flying. I do that a lot in my dreams, you know, being able to like jump up and, you know, like take leaps and fly for, you know, long periods of time.
Definitely. I think we can. I think gravity is a curse that is put on the 3D matrix. And it's, you know, science still can't even explain what gravity really is. But I think it does keep us from fully connecting to our gifts and our abilities, and even being able to like transport to a different country or across the world with a physical vessel. I think that's possible, but I think it's currently held down by this thing called gravity and this 3D matrix construct, which is very low vibration, very dense. And then something in my research on the matrix and work on the matrix project, I found that at the beginning of this cycle, when humanity was like, people know the biblical story where they ate the apple or whatever you want to call that. I don't think it happened the way that the Bible tells us. It was different. But we were essentially imprisoned into only being able to use 2 strands of our DNA. And that cut us off from a lot of our gifting and our abilities. Most people are supposed to have 12 strands. There are some beings that have 10 or 9, like the Dracos and some of those lower vibration beings actually have like, you know, under 12. And then there's some beings who are incredibly light beings that actually have up to 48 strands of DNA. And this is some of the project I've been working on with the collective, is to activate our DNA. Scientists will call it your junk DNA. It's actually a vital part of who we are, and part of us realizing our true gifting, the telekinesis, I don't know, that there's so many names for all these different giftings, but different abilities. And we've been imprisoned. Our DNA has been imprisoned this way. So our DNA is actually starting to get activated now. If you know how to muscle test, you could ask how many strands of your DNA are actually activated at this point. And so most people have at least 6 strands activated. So as you activate more, you'll be raising your vibration. You might get more intuition, more gifting, more abilities. You might be able to see more through all these lies and deception. NASA, you know, means lie, deception. They have the serpent tongue on their logo. It's like in plain sight. Same with the medical system. It's the serpents around the staff. Who is the serpent? You know, the great deceiver. It's in plain sight, all of it.
Yeah, I never experienced any muscle testing until my girlfriend. I saw her muscle testing her vitamins, and she muscle tests things, and just fascinated by it, how the body can just know what it needs by just asking it, and, you know, just constantly, you know, learning. What's your, you know, outlook for 2022? You know, are you feeling optimistic and hopeful with the way things are going?
Absolutely, I am. I'm really excited to see what happens on December 21st, the winter solstice. I think that's going to be a pivotal point on this timeline. Might actually be the ending of the timeline and a starting of a new one. I can't fully say yet, but it's an exciting time. I see things getting definitely better. Right now, we see a lot of the darkness being exposed. A lot of very corrupt people and systems are starting to break down, and the matrix is crumbling. You talked about muscle testing, and I just want to mention that I have a quick 10-minute video teaching you how to muscle test on my YouTube channel. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's really applied kinesiology, and it's so simple. Your body instinctively leans toward things that are truthful and good for you, higher vibration, and then it recoils away from things that are lower vibration. And so yes is a truth forward, no is a backwards. And you could literally just stand up and, you know, hold something like, you know, a stone, and is this for my best and highest good? And your body will move forward or it'll move backwards. If you're inverted, things will be opposite. But it's a quick 10-minute video. And I think it's my clients, I always teach them, you should know how to muscle test, because I think you should be empowered to take your own healthcare and your choices, and it helps you choose what's for your best and highest good. And then you don't, you know, is this an emergency? Do I really need to go to the emergency room right now? Or is this just heart palpitations from the Schumann resonance spiking. You can save yourself so much time and energy. And today, my son had a Christmas program at school and he passed out from locking his knees. And I just sat there. I wasn't concerned at all because I intuitively knew he was okay. I was like, he's fine. He's fine. Like, I just asked his spirit. And if you could muscle test, you could be like, I muscle test this way a lot. And you could be like, is he okay? And if he's not, like, oh my gosh, okay, let's run to the stage. But I was like, oh, he's fine. So I think some parents are like, why aren't you like running to him? And I'm like, he's okay. And he's like, I'm the cool kid now because I passed out. Like, I got so many new friends. So it's funny.
So you talked earlier about you were homeschooling and now your kids are actually in a school. What would make you change your, focus and put them into the indoctrination camps where now they're injecting, they're masking, and so that must have been a very tough change.
Okay. You feel like I went backwards, but I had a baby in May, and so she completely changed my life. One of my children has severe, homeschool just wasn't working good for him. Very short attention span. So he had a hard time focusing, very social. They're in a private school where there is zero mandates for anything. They don't care. I think there's one person in their class who wears a face covering. None of the teachers do. Nobody in the school does. They don't teach Common Core. So it's a very open school. They're teaching, things I pretty much agree with. And so that was a decision I made in what was the best way for me to use my time and energy and my ability to help humanity, the ability to take care of my daughter, run my business. And the homeschooling was just something that I wasn't able to juggle. It's okay to not do everything on your own. It's okay to seek help. And I'm just very grateful that we had a good alternative. I personally would never put them in a public school, and I call them the same thing. Communist indoctrination camps is what I say they are. And so I would never put them there. They would stay home before I did that. But because we had a good alternative, and if they're free there, it's a good place. And we have a lot of conversations. They know a lot of truth. Everything we've talked about, all those topics, they know in detail. And they're very strong personalities, very confident. They can hold their own against any adult any day. And they're in 5th grade. So I'm not worried about them.
Well, the whole social aspect of school and having friends and, doing, drama classes and sporting and all these things are such a bonus to these indoctrination camps, which, kind of balance things. But, I heard that in some place in the States, that they was a private school that they were actually firing all the injected teachers. They said if you're going to get an injection, you can't at the school. Then they actually came out and did the exact opposite. Which, wow, I was very impressed by that.
That was a school in Florida, and I read about them, and that was amazing. Kudos to them. And our school is not that extreme, but I definitely don't think their teacher, their principal, would do that. They've had a couple kids in their class that have, and they know who they are. But my kids are shielded. We don't face any ill effects from being around people who have taken the arm mark. Bioshielding is quite a phenomenal, if you know how to do it. Or I continually try to put bioshields on the collective, but I have to have permission. I don't work against somebody's free will. So if they reject it, and I have close family members that have had every single thing they could put in their body from Big Pharma, and my kids are around them every week. They haven't had any problems, except my son was getting bloody noses for a couple weeks, and I had to up his shielding, and he's fine now. So I don't live in fear. For a while, I kept my baby away from them after we had a really negative experience. And my son saw entity trying to overtake my baby while someone was holding her that had those, toxic arm marks. And so we kept our distance, but I am finding that with this shift in my breaking down of some of the matrix constructs, now it's fine for them to hold my baby and there's no negative effects. So again, I try not to let fear rule me, but knowledge is power. We should definitely be aware of what we're exposing ourselves to and the impact it could have on our bodies.
Well, I'm open anytime you want to put any shield this way. I'll definitely accept for, me and my girlfriend and our family. But how is the Montana, the whole state, the governor, the people, are they, living like more open like Florida, or they more, closed like, New York?
Where I live, it's very open. I see maybe like 5 to 10% of people wearing a face covering. It feels like every day, like it doesn't even. We went to a school program tonight and I saw 2 people with a face covering, out of probably 3 or 4 or 500 people, one student. And so we're pretty free here. I love that you asked that question because this is another thing I don't talk a lot about politics, but my husband and I are very active in our community to support medical freedom. And we testified in front of the Senate for the passage of HB 702, which is that the government cannot, or no one in the state may discriminate against you based on your vaccination status. And that passed. And the only reason it passed was pressure from the people. Hundreds of people showed up to the Senate and they stood in the balcony, like glaring the stare of death at these legislators. And they were going to squash this at the last minute. And our lieutenant governor is phenomenal, Kristen Juris. I wish she was our governor. They did some backroom talking and it passed. There are since some organizations that are trying to get it overturned because, of course, they don't want people to have their own rights. But we are the only state that has that it is illegal to discriminate based on what your jab status is. So that's quite phenomenal.
That's
and my
amazing.
husband and I testified at the Senate, and we helped to get this passed. We were there. Like, I was overdue with my pregnancy, and we were traveling across the state to go participate in this and be a part of it. I gave birth like 1 hour after it was signed by the governor. It was like my baby waited. That was our baby. So we were super happy. And my husband's actually running for a legislative position in the state this next term. And so we've already been getting retaliation because we're very outspoken, but bring it on. It's not going to shut us up or make us, step back on what we know is right and standing up for everybody's right to be free.
That is amazing, and kudos to you both, and congratulations on the new baby, and good luck to him getting in there, because we do need good people. And a lot of people still have the mentality voting doesn't matter, or it doesn't matter who's in office. But right now, when we still have this so-called democracy where we can put people in there, it does matter, because having the right voices to stand up for the people, like you guys went and stood up and got that passed, is such a good achievement, and so proud to even hear that. So good for you guys.
And you do make a difference. And I feel like the biggest place we can make a difference is in our community. You need to get active. You need to stop waiting for somebody else to do it. Stop having that victim mentality. Someone else is going to take the reins. Someone else is going to do it. Do you think my husband has time to run for the House of Representatives? He has a company. Like, he employs a lot of people and their families' livelihoods rely on him. But he said that somebody has to do it and people aren't stepping up. And so he's going to do it. And we're going to have to be without him for at least 4 months. I mean, he'll come home on weekends if he gets elected, but that's a sacrifice we're willing to take so that we can see some positive changes for the future of our children. And I get it's a 3D matrix, 5D matrix. I hope that it doesn't exist by the end of next year and none of this matters. But while we're here, we're going to live it to the fullest and make the biggest impact we can. And the governor, or the lieutenant governor, has spoken several times, and she said our county where we live and the group that we're actively involved in is responsible for the passage of 702 because we showed up and we were active in this. And our entire county went red the last election. So it's a big deal. Like and then just putting out the positive energy. I think, I know I'm a big light anchor for this community. It makes a difference because I thought Florida was free. We actually went to Florida in February for our vacation. And I felt such dark, suppressive energy. They kicked me out of a grocery store. They refused to check me out. This was in Miami-Dade County for not wearing a face covering. They refused us service at restaurants. It was extremely draconian. And this is like the Florida Keys and Miami-Dade County. And I was like, I am in this beautiful bubble of light where I live. And I feel like I'm back in the 50s where none of this even happened. Like for some people, it's, they're terrified. But for the majority, we're just living our lives normally. And then I went to Florida and it was so dark and oppressive to me. And I was quite shocked, actually. I was really mad that I had to wear a face covering while I was pregnant. I had a mesh one that was completely breathable. And I did a whole video about the curses and the programming behind those coverings. Even if you didn't believe in it or anything, it still had power and cursing put on it. And I had a very negative experience with that. And I shared it, I think, in my maybe episode 2 when I started speaking out against all this. So
Yeah, that's crazy. And they even say on these boxes of the masks that the majority of the people are wearing, it says it doesn't protect you from viral infections. And it says
yeah,
that right on the box, but yet there's people that wear these things. And like in Canada here, I just ran for the last federal election, for a seat in the House. And unfortunately, the party that I was with, they had a very anti, religious extremism stance before I joined the party. And so I helped revamp their website and do all these things, but Wikipedia wouldn't stop there's Islamophobes and these racist party and all these kind of things. So I'm a marketing major, and I had such a tough time trying to get people to not believe that what the Wikipedia says. And I went in there, changed it all. 1 hour later I came back, it was all back there,
oh
because
my gosh.
you can go into Wikipedia and change things, right? But I came back and it was back to exactly how it was. So it was a tough fight. And I'm in Canada. I'm in Alberta, actually, which is the province just above you
Yeah.
guys in Montana. And we're very, very draconian here. Our prime minister is pals with the Clintons and Justras and all these really horrible people. And they're taking this Orwellian nightmare to the extreme. And majority of the people hear what they say, because who knows what's true, but they're saying about 80% of the people are actually injected. And everywhere I go, I'm probably the only one that doesn't have one of these things on the face. And I don't get hassled anywhere. I've never had an issue. Only one cannabis store was the only time that I think I had an issue in this whole 2 years. And and people, they there was a couple people I see here and there, but I go into like Costco and basically the only one, or maybe one other person, or a lot of places nobody else doesn't have this stuff on. But I don't get bothered at all. I don't get refused service. I don't and I just walk around like normal. Like it hasn't really affected me too much, except for I'm sad that I see everybody's face covered, and that makes me sad that I can't see the smiles. And so I just try to do the extra smiles to everybody to show them that there's actually people out there that are still smiling at people.
We had that too during last year when the policies were really strict. Most people here were wearing them. And so I would go to a store and be the only one that wasn't. This is when the state was mandating it, and the health departments, we actually had legislation to revamp the health departments and remove power from them to put forth these draconian mandates. And so they can't force that anymore either. They can't force the face coverings like they were. So as soon as the law or it was removed, people stopped wearing them, or a lot of people. But I would go to places, and the only people that I had come talk to me, and I'm like, oh, here we go. They're going to be like, how dare you? You're killing us. They were like thank you for not wearing one. We appreciate it so much. And, they were actually very happy. And I had several people actually take their covering off after they saw me and my kids walking around. And we were only removed from like maybe one or two places. The library, the public library of all places, kicked us out, which is so dumb. But we, I don't know, we didn't ever wear them here.
And it's the leading by example. And, I was just with my girlfriend in the Costco and this couple, and the guy had it kind of by his nose, but as soon as they walked by us, he pulled it down and he like took it right off his face. And I that made me happy that, that they have at least a little bit of effect on people. What's your thoughts on this virus? And, do you believe in the terrain theory or, the germ theory? Do you believe that, they can actually, catch a sneeze and, and get somebody sick?
If you look at real science, it has never isolated a virus, period. And so I'm more of terrain theory, where you need to, I don't think it's a theory, but terrain fact, that it's about your immune system and your vessel. What, are you high vibration, low vibration? We haven't been affected by any of these illnesses this entire time. And I've been all over. I've been to Florida, Vegas, Seattle, Spokane, different parts of the country. And we've never experienced anything. I feel like literally my vibration is high and I've risen above the vibration of whatever they're doing to us. I personally think a lot of the symptoms people are facing is in relation to, I call it 5G. I try to
not
make
use
it
those
so
words.
we don't get blocked. And so the towers and the frequencies that they're emitting, in my early research on this illness, and I have several videos talking about this and breaking it down, I found that it's literally transmissions that are, spreading from people, and the people who took the arm mark are getting uploaded with this artificial intelligent operating system, and they are becoming the repeater towers for these frequencies. If you know anything about 5G, they've got to have a repeater tower every like 50 feet or something. Well, why not just make the people their repeater towers? And so they're emitting these toxic frequencies that are being, put out by airplanes that are spreading the frequencies, these towers that you use your phone with. They're on buildings all over the place. Our only health food store has two of these huge towers right behind it. I'm like, oh my gosh, who designed the placement of that? Obviously, probably on purpose. And so I don't believe in viruses, honestly. I believe that there's, such a thing as bacteria and mold and fungus and prions and those kinds of things. But I think it's even the testing that they're doing, it's bogus. It's never been isolated. What are they even testing for? It's just a way to install artificial technology and part of the platform for their AI takeover of our bodies to make people into cyborgs and the hive mind. And they're injecting your soul with these arm marks. I personally experienced this in working on clients. I know if I'm working on somebody who's had it, like I can feel their energy, their soul is either partially dislodged, completely dislodged, or completely gone. And my son, who's able to see energies, has described them as having demons attached to a cord outside of their body or inside their body. He described one person as no longer having a heart. He's like, we have a friend and he's like, I hate to break it to him, but his girlfriend doesn't have a heart anymore. Like she's black inside. And so that's the way he would describe this, what people are doing, unfortunately.
Yeah, I used to get sick once or twice a year. Obviously poor diet and things. When you are toxic, you need to expel these toxins. That's just natural. 4 years ago, when I stopped eating meat, I haven't had a cold or a flu since. And about a year ago, I did have a headache for about 5 or 6 days, and I sneezed for 5 or 6 days. That's it. That's all I've had in the 4 years since once I quit eating meat. The first month in, I got sick, and then I haven't been sick since. No sore throat, no phlegm, no green stuff. So, and like I don't wear these things, and I've been not catching any of it, and I hug people and do all of these things. So someone just asked where they can see your videos, and I guess here is where most of your videos are, or on the website.
YouTube is Roots Restored Wellness, and then I'm also on Brighteon.com as Roots Restored Wellness. I think it's like Brighteon.com/channel/my name is the way that one's set up. And then it's just, if you search for Roots Restored Wellness, you'll find my channel on YouTube, and go through the ones that are episode numbers. Those are my talks on some of these topics that we're touching on.
Okay. This was a great conversation. Do you maybe want to explain your website and your channel, what they can get at your website, and maybe some of the services that you are offering?
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity. You can go to rootsrestoredwellness.com and check out my group healing sessions there. If you're not sure which one is right for you or where to start, I offer free assessments, and that will give you a starting point of what your body is prioritizing as, the most important. I have sessions on, I think, almost 40 different topics, everything from toxins, detoxing, Epstein-Barr virus, Lyme disease, heart walls, traumas, spiritual warfare issues, smart tech, AI. I have one called All Things COVID. If you've had the arm mark, if you've had any of the testing that is like the deep nasal, if you've had the illness, or even you're getting exposure to people who have and feeling effects from that, that session is a very comprehensive session that I do. I do energies of supplements. It's a really cool sessions. I switch those every week. I used to be on over 50 different supplements, pills, prescription drugs. And I literally take nothing now, not even one thing. I just find that we can add the energetic blueprint of that to the body. And that way we don't have to worry about any toxicity or, harmful energies from those. And so that's how my family and I work now. I have thousands of dollars of supplements in my cupboard, and I'm like, don't want to throw them away, but we don't use them anymore. So it's like, what do I do with those? I have one that's called Raising Your Vibration, so just clearing out imbalances that are bringing down your vibration. So that's kind of what I'm offering right now is group sessions. Today, I'm doing one called Oral Facial Balance. So everything from your atlas and axis, C1, C2 vertebrae up. It's working on balancing everything from your teeth, your gums, your eyes, your ears, sinuses, different plates in the skull, neurotransmitters in the brain. There's so much. It's hard to explain it all. So you can go check those out. My son's services are also on my website. He does readings for people. He'll tell you the name or names of your angels, your aura color, what stones you need, what stones energetically you need at the moment. Sometimes he tells people they need a flower or an essential oil or a food. And then he also can tell you what your spirit occupation is. If you have a job in heaven, he'll tell you. He sees some really interesting things. So he'll be like, oh, on the third dimension of heaven, they take care of baby angels, or, somebody's a bed maker. Someone makes flaming swords for the angels. And he sees things in a different, interesting perspective. And so he does readings. It's kind of cool. And sometimes I do emergency sessions, but I don't have which are one-on-one. I just don't have a lot of time right now. I'm milking a goat twice a day for my baby. She takes up a lot of my time. I've been looking for a nanny. We don't have one. If I find a nanny, I'll probably be able to go back to some individual sessions. My old clients are begging me, but they're doing group sessions and getting good benefits out of those. So that YouTube, all my videos that I've done are there. And then I have videos describing each of my group sessions on YouTube. And then my Telegram channel is, if you want to get in the conversation, we try to keep it to health topics and, the frequency of the earth, raising your vibration, positive place for people to go. It's a great channel. You posted the link at the bottom of this video. And so a lot of people say it's their favorite channel. They feel like it's a really high vibration, encouraging place. People will pray for other people and give them suggestions on health issues. And I don't know, it's just a safe place.
That's amazing and good to know about your son. I was told by a medium I was a walk-in from the angelic realm, so be interested to see what his thoughts are, because I remember everything, and I did once fight a bunch of gangsters protecting a girl, and I got stabbed 12 times, and I saw my body, one punctured my lung, and I saw my body lifeless on the table as I floated away, and I came back into my body, and I don't remember anything out of my body. So not sure if, anything happened at that time, or if I was just given some messages, when I did come back. But, it was quite the experience that I went through.
Wow, that's amazing. He does find that there's, people who are angels too. He last Saturday we did a live together. We might do it again where he answered people's questions about angels. So that was kind of cool. It's the first time I've let him go live. He wants to help people and share his information, but he's also 11, and so I have to be, kind of careful with him. And I have people that are trying to like attack my family and say I'm harming my children and different things. So I, try to keep a balance with that. I don't let people cause me fear and to completely shut down, but then again, just finding balance.
Oh yeah, there's people out there that will attack anybody that, for whatever reason, whether or not they're shining the light, whether or not they want to, get attention on them. Like I was doing lives with my girlfriend where we did last year when the lockdown started. I did the High Vibe Love Tribe where, everybody, because I've been doing this a long time. Soon as I saw everybody drop, in Wuhan, I said, it's 5G. They lit that up, and
Mhm.
that's why everybody was dropping. That was my first public thing that I
Yep.
that I said. And so instead of being in the fear, what we did was I danced for an hour. It started at 15 minutes, and as the got longer and longer, and I did dancing, put on music, and just danced on the camera live for everybody. And then after the hour, we did guided meditations, we did healing frequencies, I did the Tibetan singing bowls. And so it's about, anywhere from an hour to 3 hours sometimes of a safe place that people could get away from the fear and have a nice, safe, just space to go to. And, when that's when, I met my girlfriend during that High Vibe Love Tribe, and she brought her daughters on the live, and her daughter was, she knew sign language because she had has a cousin that, needs to be signed. And so she was doing some of these sign languages, and there would be people out there saying that some of them were these, Illuminati signs, or these bad signs, and trying to, really paint bad picture because, a 10-year-old at that time was, doing these hand signs that, are actual sign language signs. So a lot of people are out there,
Mhm.
it's a small group of people that look to try to, harm people because of the light that they are actually shining.
Well, that's awesome that you are doing, work to try to raise people's vibrations. That's really, the root of what I do is clearing out the low so people can raise their vibration. And that's what we want for all of humanity is we can't rise alone. So we need to rise together. We want our neighbor to come with us. And so, even though those people may attack us, we can choose to get angry and lower our vibration, or we can just kill them with kindness and like watch us succeed even more and be even higher place in our lives. And that is probably worse torture to them than us stooping to their level.
Yeah, I did that 11 months straight, 7 days a week. I think there was 4 days in 11 months that we
Wow.
didn't, because we were traveling to BC, or we were camping. We didn't get an internet signal, but 7 days a week for 11 straight months, and had many, many people say that this saved their life. You literally
Awesome.
saved my life. And, I had someone from a hockey team when I was a kid. He, found out by the time he was 5 to the time he was 15, he got molested 10 different times, but he forgot about it. And then, got married and had kids, and he was a big manager of a company. And then all of a sudden he started to remember what had happened to him, and he got all this rage and anger. And he actually lost his job, and he had to leave his wife and kids because he didn't want to be around them when, he was in this anger state. So he moved back in with his, mom. And then he found the Tibetan singing bowl, and he said it was the first time that he actually started feeling peace in his life by hearing this bowl and doing these guided meditations. He doesn't, I never even did a meditation, and we were doing chakra clearing and cleansing and all these different things that we were doing. And he says he didn't even goes, I don't believe in any of that, but he goes, this is the first time in years that I'm actually feeling not angry when I hear this. And when I hugged him, he says, Jesse, you literally saved my life for the second time, because apparently I protected him from a bunch of gangsters 25 years ago, 30 years ago, and at a bar when he's picking up his
Oh,
girlfriend. So, I stepped in front of them and they just left him alone. So, but I didn't really remember that too much because at that time I was drinking quite a bit of alcohol. But
okay.
but I did help him at that time. So, well, thank you very much for spending this time with us. This has been amazing. This has been, such a wealth of, information. People get to know you better, get to know a little bit about your political side, and,
Yeah.
probably some sides of you they didn't know, the stuff that you did with the Senate. And it's just amazing. What the missing link is love inspiring new knowledge is what, kind of the link acronym is. And this is exactly what it was about. So we really appreciate you. Keep on the journey. Thank you so much for all you're doing for, humanity. Thank you for what you're doing for your state. Thank you for all that, you're doing. It sounds like you're, doing a great job. So I really appreciate you. And there's so many people here that are still here, during this, entire 2 hours. So, you're definitely well loved.
Well, thanks so much, Jesse, for this opportunity. I'm really honored. And I'm very honored, that I get the opportunity to touch people's lives and that I was gifted. My son is adopted with this beautiful boy who, he has some challenges, but he was placed with me for a reason so that I could probably help guide him and help him to be, also shine his light into the world. And it's just been a blessing. I always feel like there's a purpose behind everything. And we just very much, I love the mission of your channel. I always say love conquers all. Love is really the answer. Like that's what we need to do, is unlock our heart and our soul so that we can really connect with our true power and who we really are. And the greatest impact we can have on the world is through love.
It's what it's about. We stay out of the fear vibration. We live in our power, live in love, and, whatever transpires, transpires. And we know we're doing the best that we can. And that's all that really matters.
Yes. So thank you so much to everyone who tuned in as well. I know I see some of my clients here that I very much love and appreciate them, and everyone else. Thank you so much.
Awesome. And again, thank you. And maybe down the future, you can maybe come back again, in a while after, maybe some of this things shift a little bit. And then we could maybe chat about, how this new, way of life is bettering us for us all.
Yeah, it'll be interesting after December 21st. I'd love to come back on, and I'll message you with a coupon code. You can try my vaccine session for free and see if you notice a shift with that.
Okay. Thank you so much. I really
Yeah.
appreciate that. And good luck with everything that you're doing.
All right. Thanks, Jesse. Take care.
Okay, bye. Bye, everyone. And we'll see you next week. Next week, we have Angela Ward, who is another, person who went through his sex trafficking as a child. We've got Amanda Joan Quimper, and then we got Melissa Wolford, who, she has the Oramus Gold. She does the Oramus Gold, and she's got a bunch of different products. So, and she's also, talks about a lot about the aliens and things like that. So thanks everybody. And we will, see you again next week. Bye everyone.
All right. Thanks.